It's another sellout here at the Peterson Event Center in Pittsburgh. No big surprise there. The entire season has been a sellout to watch this great Pitt basketball team, 26-3. And this is a very special day for these Panthers. It is senior day for Jerron Brown, Torrey Morris, and Julius Page, the winningest class in the history of Pitt basketball. A win today, and they lock up top seed in the Big East tournament. NCAA basketball on ABC Sports, presented by Cialis. We are here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The 26-3 Panthers taking on the 500 Villanova Wildcats, who have lost 4 in a row right now. What's at stake here today is mentioned. If Pitt wins, they lock up the #1 seed in the Big East tournament. Villanova just trying to get over the 500 mark right now. Hi, everybody. Dan Shulman and Len Elmore with you here at a very feisty and noisy Peterson Event Center. As good as this Pitt team is, Len, they still don't get as much attention nationally as they should. They just keep on winning, though.
Well, they certainly do. And first-year head coach Jamie Dixon just didn't mess with success. He's been able to build on that winning formula, and it's about defense and rebounding. And you take a look again at the steals, last in the conference, but that's because Pittsburgh doesn't gamble, and it hasn't hurt them one bit.
Now, we mentioned Villanova's lost 4 in a row, but by a combined total of 11 points. Is this a dangerous team here today?
Well, it certainly is, but they've got to be able to cut down on turnovers. They're 1-4 in their last 5 games, averaging 18 turnovers. Opponents only 12, and you can't win close games if you turn it over that much.
Senior day here in Pittsburgh. The Panthers in white, the Wildcats in blue. First meeting of the season between these two, and the first time Villanova has ever come to this building, which is now in its 2nd year and has earned the reputation, Len, of being one of the toughest places to play in the Northeast.
Well, it certainly has. And again, Pittsburgh very comfortable. You see them in the man-to-man right now. This is their strength. This is where it all begins.
Nearly stolen by Karl Krauser. Pittsburgh allowing just 57 points per game. Villanova, their starting lineup brought to you by Toyota, a very young team for Jay Wright. They start 4 sophomores and 1 freshman. The freshman with the ball right now, number 12, Mike Nardi. The sophomores, of course, a part of that much heralded recruiting class from last year. Allen Ray with a miss. Underneath, Frazier stumbling around, turns it over on the travel.
Well, you mentioned it, Villanova, terrific young team with a 3-guard offense.
Now the starting lineup for Jamie Dixon, the first-year head coach at Pittsburgh after a number of years, has been Howland's assistant. And I guess the big name here that jumps out at you that we should talk about is Chris Taft. He's a freshman, and in your opinion, the best freshman in the Big East this year.
Well, I think there's no question about it, what he's brought to this team. And the fact is, this is a dynamic Pittsburgh, despite their dominance over the last couple of years, has never really had a guy who can block shots and score inside, and he's a pretty good passer as well.
Offensive rebound, and he kicks it back out to Page, and Pitt will reset. Very patient. Everybody touches the ball, and a team with great interior passing skills. Krauser had it knocked away by Curtis Sumter. Villanova takes over.
And you talk about Curtis Sumter. Here's the guy that's made tremendous improvement from last year. Sumter only averaged about 6 points, and this year averaging about 15 points a game. Really been a mainstay for Villanova.
Leading candidate for the most improved player in the Big East, but Karl Krauser will have something to say about that. Sumter not afraid to go up against bigger people, and right at Chevy Troutman right there. But Troutman's one of the best defenders on the interior in this league.
Well, he certainly is, and that time fundamentally sound block out by Pittsburgh off the glass.
Pittsburgh to inbound is still waiting for our first points of the afternoon. Better than 1 minute and 40 seconds in. Krauser, of course, taking over for departed All-American Brandon Knight. A different kind of a point guard. A little more scoring ability, maybe not quite as tough defensively as Brandon Knight was. Karl Krauser also, I got to think of all the practices I've been to this year, the noisiest player in America.
Yeah, he's a little chatterbox out there. That's how he leads, though. And Karl Krauser, a very intelligent individual, and certainly he brings that intelligence to the floor.
And last foul on Sumter, his first. Krauser is a redshirt sophomore, also went to prep school for a year. He's 22 years of age. He's a sophomore, but he's older than a lot of seniors are. And that's one of the secrets of this Pittsburgh program, how experienced and old a lot of their players are.
Well, it's a certain level of maturity that he displays out there on the floor. Never really panics. doesn't dwell on mistakes.
Troutman going right by Frazier. Frazier recovers for the block, and Troutman there with the tip in for our first bucket of the afternoon.
Well, the Energizer Bunny, the perpetual motion machine, call him what you will, but Chevy Troutman just keeps coming at you.
Shooting 67% from the floor on the season, averaging almost 10 points per game. Now Nardi, the freshman, he was actually a redshirt candidate at the beginning of the year, but Derek Snowden was hurt, and Nardi has played and played well. Frazier with the putback on the miss, and Villanova ties it.
Now that's several times now that Jason Frazier's been able to get his hands on an offensive rebound, and it's primarily because Chris Tapp has been going to the penetration, trying to block the shot. And when he does that, he leaves his man Frazier free to get in front of the rim. They've got to be careful about that. Frazier coming on a little bit lately.
Now Tapp turns it over. Villanova comes right back. Villanova's mentioned they've lost 4 in a row, but to some very good teams, and by a total of 11 points. If you look at their 14 losses on the season, 12 of them by 7 points or less. So they've been in almost every game.
Well, they know how to play, and again, this three-guard offense gives a lot of teams fits because of the quickness and the skill level.
Boy spinning, has it blocked, misses the follow. Loose ball back to the Wildcats. Allen Ray, their leading scorer, a little bit short on the three. Another offensive rebound, knocked out of bounds. It'll stay with the Cats again.
Well, you got to believe Pittsburgh a little spooked right now. The last time they played on this home floor, they had their 40-game home win streak broken and only scored 46 points. They've got to be thinking about that a little bit.
Randy Foy passes up a three, tries a little penetration, now gets it back on the perimeter. That 40-game home winning streak had been the second longest in the country to Duke's, and then Duke saw its home court winning streak ended this week as well. Sumter, kind of a cross between a 3 and a 4. Look at him split the double team, but Krauser with great anticipation picks it off, and committing the foul is Frazier of Villanova.
Well, that's the hallmark of this Pittsburgh defense. It begins with team unity. You know, when you're around these guys, you realize how much they like each other, and once you're willing to sacrifice for guys, you're going to make plays like that. You're going to step up in the help situation and support your teammates.
Early substitutions now. Mark McCarroll comes into the game for Pittsburgh. He's taken his game up a notch this season, has become much more of a factor. And Will Sheridan, freshman out of Bear, Delaware, is into the game now for Villanova. Sheridan gives a lot of energy, some good rebounding off the bench. Page, the lefty, not there. His shot has been off by his standards this season, but he hasn't let it affect him at the other end of the floor. Jamie Dixon feels he might be the best defender in the Big East.
Well, he certainly has been one of those guys that you stand up and take notice of. Against Syracuse the last time they were here, despite the loss, held Jerry McNamara to 1 for 9 from the field.
Great drive to the basket by Allen Ray, averaging better than 17 points per game. And Villanova, as you saw, out rebounding Pittsburgh early and leading them by 2 in a very low scoring start to this game.
Allen Ray, probably the most consistent player on this Villanova squad.
Krauser defended by Nardi. Sumter steps out to help. Now somebody's open as they double team Krauser, and still Pittsburgh throws it away. But Page with great hustle to run down the loose ball.
But you got to like what Villanova's doing right now, stepping out aggressively around screens, forcing Pittsburgh out of their rhythm. They're looking to pass the ball inside. A lot of pressure on the ball handler makes it difficult.
That loss to Miami at home that Villanova suffered Tuesday has jeopardized their ability to be considered for the NIT. You've got to be at least 500. They lose today, they'll go below 500, and then they'll have to win 2 in the Big East tournament, assuming they're eventually going to lose one. 4-2 Villanova early here in Pittsburgh.
Well, again, talk about Allen Ray, the most consistent player on this Villanova squad, averaging 23 points a game. Takes a walk in the park, gets the goal.
Sunday doubleheader featuring 2 of the league's premier big men. First, it's Dirk Nowitzki and Dallas take it on Yao Ming and Houston. Then Jason Kidd, health permitting. The Nets will take on the LA Lakers. Kobe Bryant, health permitting. If you missed it last night, Kobe went out with a shoulder injury. So tune in tomorrow to find out if he's back in the lineup as the Lakers host the Nets.
Well, in that game, Jason Kidd obviously so important to the New Jersey Nets. 13-0 under Lawrence Frank in their first 13 games, haven't really found that same rhythm.
Nice little cut there by Curtis Sumter. Mike Nardi found him, and Villanova not looking intimidated at all. They know they're playing a bigger, stronger, more experienced team, but Villanova playing well so far.
Well, they are, and they're playing aggressively, and it all begins with their defense.
No basket, wave it off. Offensive foul on Chevy Troutman. That's the 5th turnover committed by Pittsburgh already in 6 minutes. Usually, as you mentioned, Villanova's the team that has the turnover trouble.
Well, Villanova doing a nice job of double teaming, forcing the drives, and then they have people under there willing to take the charge.
Pittsburgh with 1 basket in 6 minutes of action. Boy being defended by Jerron Brown. Fadeaway. Brown got a finger on it, but a foul is called. Another unpopular call here in Pittsburgh.
Well, that was a good call. Jerron Brown got Foy on the wrist as he went up. And again, this is what makes Villanova so dangerous. They'll isolate you with this 3-guard offense. You see right there, the left hand on the wrist. Really not much of an argument can be made. But because they have this 3-guard offense, they spread the floor. They'll isolate your guys man to man. They've got some good one-on-one players.
Get the feeling this is the kind of team that nobody in the Big East is going to want to play next year or the year after that. They'll all still be together.
They're not going to want to play them in the Big East tournament.
You're right. Got a slow start this year because of injuries to Jason Frazier and Derek Snowden, and also the leftover effects of that phone card situation from last year. A total of 5 players were suspended at various points in November and December. Villanova really did not become a complete team until January.
And again, Jason Frazier, the big man in the middle, slowed by injuries, the knee, the heel. He doesn't look like he's 100%. He was running gingerly out there even in the warm-ups. Will Sheridan, though, the freshman, has done a nice job of becoming the mainstay in the middle.
And look at all the motion here for Pittsburgh. They get Krauser free for a shot. And Villanova holding their own on the glass again. Not many second opportunities for Pitt.
So the only field goal Pittsburgh has is the almost fortunate tip in by Siobhan Troutman.
Villanova 8, Pittsburgh 2. Now better than 7 minutes in. Boy cut off on the baseline, taken away by Troutman. Nice look ahead. Page to Krauser. Nardi comes down with a rebound. Crowd wanted a call.
Krauser did the right thing by going to the left hand, but he forgot to put it off the glass, and it turns into a bucket.
Ray drains a 3, and how about the Villanova Wildcats start? An 11-2 lead over heavily favored Pittsburgh, trying to lock up the #1 seed in the Big East Championship.
Well, here on the fast break situation, Julius Page does a nice job of getting the ball right here to Karl Krauser. And Krauser tries to go up with the left hand and does a nice job, but he doesn't get it off the backboard as you should with a layup. And in transition, Allen Ray, very deadly if you give him any type of light.
Showing something with a pull-up 3 in transition right there. The Wildcats, nothing to lose right now. They're 14-14. Trying to make a statement and get a little momentum back going into the Big East tournament, which begins Wednesday at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Villanova has made its last 3 shots, and they've got a 9-point lead. Now the crowd, the Oakland Zoo behind us, trying to get a little energy, a little momentum back into their team. The other senior, Tori Morris, has checked into the game. Jamie Dixon did not start him today, but all 3 seniors, and again, this is senior day. Jerron Brown, Julius Page, and Tori Morris in the game right now for the Panthers. Brown on the wing. So much of the offense goes through him. Page, the 3. And over the back goes Tori Morris, I believe. Could have gone on McCarroll. We'll see who Tim Higgins gives it to. Here go on Tori Morris.
Here's a situation that Pittsburgh has to be wary of. You're not going to get these points back by firing from outside. They're only 32% from beyond the arc. Certainly you got to take the shots given you, but you got to work a little bit harder, get the ball inside, force some foul situations against Villanova. But most importantly, it's about patience.
Boy now at the point for Villanova. Nardi's gone to the bench, and this is Derek Snowden, who has come into the game, a senior from Baltimore, former starter. Ray off a screen, not this time. Rebound Krauser. Looking for Tori Morris inside. He's got a size advantage on Sheridan.
And Villanova still doing a nice job in the man-to-man, but what's been very characteristic of the aggressiveness is the double team off the screens, and that's what you got to do. Get it to your big guys. Let him slip the screens.
Morris slipping inside, and he will go to the line.
Watch the step out right here. And there's Morris just slipping the screen. The double team starts to emerge with Sheridan outside. Morris slips down low, gets the ball, and gets fouled.
Chris Charles commits the foul for Villanova. Torrey Morris to the line, averaging about 2 points and 2 rebounds per game. Jamie Dixon talks about how it all started with this senior class. Julius Page, Jerron Brown, Torrey Morris, how they were the beginning of the rejuvenation of this program, which had really struggled for a number of years. But now they have been to 3 consecutive Big East championship games. They have been to the Sweet 16 each of the last 2 years. And this may be the best team that they've had during that period, Len.
Well, certainly on paper and certainly from a talent standpoint. And you talk about dominance over the last 3 years. They got the best winning percentage of some of the major Division I teams. That includes Duke, Gonzaga, Kansas.
Their first point in almost 6 minutes, but the Panthers are still down 8 to Villanova here in Pittsburgh.
Event Center at the University of Pittsburgh, and Villanova leads by 3. And the reason Villanova has been able to vault to this lead has been a strong, aggressive defense. Double teaming, making sure the ball is out of Karl Krauser's hands. Very difficult to see number 21, Mark McCarroll, the open man. Hence a turnover as Krauser charges. But a few possessions later, the same aggressive double team. This time, Krauser makes the adjustment as Morris slips the pick, finds an open man inside, gets to the free throw line. Pittsburgh's going to have to start doing that a little bit more. Those type of adjustments haven't shown up on the scoreboard as of yet.
Well, we'll see now how they adjust with Krauser on the bench. Probably not for too long. Freshman guard Antonio Graves has checked in for the Panthers to get a few minutes at the point.
Well, again, this putting Karl Krauser on the bench is all about gaining some perspective. Let him sit on the bench, see what Villanova's doing, and start making even more adjustments than the ones we pointed out.
And Villanova going with a bigger lineup now, as Jay Wright told us before the game he would at times. Sheridan has it knocked away, but a foul is called underneath. Another call against Pittsburgh. And this will be Torrey Morris again, and that'll be number 2 on Morris, as all Krauser can do is look on from the bench.
Good penetrating dish, and Sheridan goes to the basket strong. The ball was blocked cleanly. Looked like some body there.
And to the line goes Sheridan. And now Torrey Morris is among those who are going to have to come out. Morris has 2 fouls. He'll sit down, as will McCarroll. And the starters, Taft and Troutman, back into the game for Pittsburgh, while Nardi checks back in for Villanova.
And Pittsburgh needs to get some mileage out of Chris Taft. Again, out of that aggressive double. Taft is the kind of guy who can actually do much more in the paint than Morris can if you can get him the ball.
Better than 9 minutes into the game, and the Pittsburgh Panthers have 3 points, 1 field goal, 1 free throw. It's been over 7 minutes since they made their field goal, and it was on a tip-in by Troutman on the offensive glass.
Boy,
this team won't panic, though.
At home, you see the difficulty Pittsburgh's had in scoring. And here's another turnover. The pressure of Villanova really taking a toll on the Panthers.
Snowden somehow found a man underneath, and now Villanova will reset. And Jay Wright looks at Nardi and says, take your time. Be calm out there. Battle of freshman at point guards right now, with the Graves on Nardi. Trying to get Snowden free for a look. Pull up from the elbow. Got it. This Pitt Panther team known more for defense than offense. I mean, they've worked themselves into a double-digit deficit right now.
Well, it's a combination of turning the ball over as well as inability to get good looks. And you give Villanova the credit for the fact that Pittsburgh hasn't been able to get those high percentage shots that they'd like.
Page a deep 3, and Snowden quick to the basketball for Villanova. If Pittsburgh wins today, they lock up the #1 seed in the Big East tournament. If Pittsburgh loses today and Connecticut wins at Syracuse tomorrow, then Connecticut would be the #1 seed.
There's the isolation again. You talk about one-on-one, excellent one-on-one players on the Villanova Wildcat squad.
Sumter, great defense by Jerron Brown.
Oh, that's the other part of the equation.
Page, no! Missed a layup.
The other part of the equation is Jerron Brown's terrific defense, but you got to capitalize on those turnovers. Open floor turnover gives you an open floor transition opportunity, and Pittsburgh once again blows that opportunity.
And now the officials have stopped the game to discuss something about some kind of a violation or a clock issue. That is John Hughes over at the scorer's table. Pittsburgh 1 for 11 shooting the ball, 3 points in 11 minutes and 14 seconds. Well, coming up in the second half of our college hoops doubleheader here on ABC Sports, number 23 Memphis battles number 12 Cincinnati for the Conference USA title. The Bearcats going to lock up the league crown with a win today. Cincinnati losing at DePaul during the week. A 3 for Nardi, and it is 17-3 Villanova as Pittsburgh is forced to call another timeout. This is absolutely stunning what has happened here in the first 11.5 minutes.
Well, Pittsburgh obviously caught totally off balance. Doesn't look like they've been able to make enough adjustments on the defensive end. A lot of wide open looks. If it's not a one-on-one isolation, it's a wide open look for Villanova. And you take a look again, Mike Nardi, the freshman, with that freshman enthusiasm. Jay Wright's got to be awfully pleased right now with the aggressiveness on both ends of this Villanova Wildcat team.
Largest deficit of the season for Pittsburgh. They've only lost 3 games, 1 by 3 points, 1 in overtime, and 1 in double overtime. So they have not faced anything like this all season long. Well, this Wednesday and every Wednesday at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, check into Kingdom Hospital. It's being called brilliant, gripping, not your typical network show. An all-new Stephen King's Kingdom Hospital, ABC Wednesday at 10 Eastern. Again, the largest deficit of the entire season right now for the Pitt Panthers. They were down 13 to the Irish in a game earlier this year, but rallied to win that one. Obviously, there's a ton of time. We're only midway through the first half.
And one of the things Karl Krauser told me after that Notre Dame game was the fact that the seniors kept the younger players in the game, telling them we can't lose this. Despite going down 13, it's going to be important for the seniors to show leadership today.
Tapp looking to make something happen. Misses the short one. Ball on the floor, and it's a tie-up. The arrow will keep it with Pittsburgh as we move under the 8-minute mark.
And that's the kind of game Pittsburgh wants to make it. They want to make it a battle, a scrum underneath, because they fare much better when you're playing hand-to-hand, man-to-man.
Got to find a way to put the ball in the bucket. Now, they've got thousands and thousands of blue and gold balloons here at the Peterson Event Center, because if Pittsburgh wins this game, they clinch the Big East regular season championship and the top seed to go into the Big East tournament. They're ready to celebrate. Villanova's not ready to allow them to celebrate, though. A really gutty effort so far by the Wildcats, and now Pittsburgh can't get the ball in. They've got to use another timeout. Len, that's the 3rd timeout the Panthers have used already here in the first half. Well, don't forget, tomorrow ABC Sports brings you a great NBA Sunday doubleheader. First, it's one of the battles of Texas. Dirk Nowitzki and Dallas taking on Yao Ming and Houston. Yao had 27 big points in a win last night in Minnesota. Then Jason Kidd, if he's healthy, leads New Jersey against Shaq and Kobe if he's healthy. And the LA Lakers in the second game of the doubleheader tomorrow right here on ABC Sports. So look at the Western Conference standings, and what a win for Houston last night at Minnesota, with Minnesota being the number 2 team. Of course, the Lakers are 4th right now, still looking to climb up the ladder a little bit.
And boy, last night the shellacking Dallas took at the hands of the San Antonio Spurs may have sent a message that you can play them awfully physical. Dallas really didn't respond to the physical play of the Spurs.
Pittsburgh gets it in. 1 Chevy Troutman tip in and 1 free throw in better than 12 minutes. Krauser cannot turn the corner on Nardi, just leans into him and throws up a prayer off the side of the backboard.
Oh, that was just a force by Karl Krauser, looking more to draw the foul and put the ball in the basket.
Wide open look for Ray, the miss, but another rebound for Villanova. Sumter from the baseline, no. And Tapp brings it down. Villanova, in addition to everything else they're doing, doubling the Panthers on the glass, and that's a big surprise. Krauser to Tapp, and they finally get a field goal.
Well, the bottom line is, particularly for Karl Krauser, make the easy play. You know, instead of going down, trying to make things happen on your own, play with your teammates, draw the defenders, and find the open guy.
Nardi using the screen and misses the shot. Rebound Taft. first field goal in better than 10 minutes for the Panthers. Let's see if they get a spark. Krauser, and a foul before the shot on Nardi.
I mean, when you're as talented as Karl Krauser, there's always the temptation of trying to do it by yourself. And here he knows he can get head and shoulders past Nardi, but the help comes quickly. You got to find the open guy, and Chris Taft with terrific hands and strength inside is a prime candidate.
First foul on Nardi. Jerron Brown to the bench. Yuri Demetrius, number 3, into the game for the first time for Pittsburgh. Troutman forces one up. Taft with the offensive board. Taft with a turnaround.
Well, the crowd has gotten up off their hands and started putting them together for this Pittsburgh Panther team.
Let's see how the Wildcats respond. They've still got a 10-point lead. Boy, tough defense by Demetrius. A little bit too tough, as it turns out. John Hughes calls him for a foul. You talked about Taft and how he can really be a game changer inside for the Panthers. Again,
they never had this dimension before. A guy who rebounds like that's got inside presence on the blocks, and only a freshman.
What upside he has. Well, they lost so much from last year. Brandon Knight, Ontario Led, and Donatas Zavaskas. But with Taft coming into the program and Krauser becoming a starter, they weren't taken as seriously at the beginning of the year as they should, and it's really taken them most of this season to start earning the respect around the country that they had last year.
Well, that's why you give Jamie Dixon an awful lot of credit. He's been able to integrate those new pieces like Karl Krauser as a starter and Chris Taft as a freshman.
Randy Foye, a little bit strong with a shot, out of bounds to Pittsburgh.
And Dan, you can see the game has become much more physical. This is what Pittsburgh wants. They want to get you in the trenches where they believe they're stronger and tougher, and they wind up really bullying teams.
Yep. They're a team that nobody in the Big East likes to play. They are the most physical team in the conference.
And that's not a pejorative. Physical means you're playing within the rules, but you're using your shoulders, you're behind, getting good position.
Taft again. Great ball movement on that trip by the Panthers. Timeout, Villanova. Taft with all 6 points for Pittsburgh after they snapped that drought to better than 10 minutes without a field goal.
Pittsburgh obviously playing to their strengths, and no one on the floor stronger than Chris Taft in the middle right here. A nice job against that zone, dropping it down on the short corner, and Taft with that long reach able to leap over the D.
They have overcome some double-digit deficits earlier this season. They trailed by 14 earlier in this game, their largest deficit of the entire season. But again, they've only lost 3 games all year. Those 3 games by a total of 7 points. One of them was in overtime. Another one was in double overtime.
Again, this is a resilient bunch because they have the senior leadership and because they have freshmen who are too young to be scared.
A nice blend, huh?
Absolutely. But when you have a guy like Chris Taft, it certainly helps because that inside presence has proven invaluable in this comeback.
Pittsburgh knows if they win today, they get the #1 seed in the Big East tournament. They also know they probably can't lose any more this season if they want a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament. It's a realistic possibility for them if they can win out. Good save by Sheridan, but into the hands of Page. Here comes Pitt. Demetrius thought about it. Found Troutman inside, and Taft is there again.
You don't think he's the Big East Rookie of the Year? There's no one else that comes close at this point in time in dominating basketball games as Chris Taft has done throughout this season.
It's an 8-0 Taft run right now, and Pittsburgh is back within 6.
No other freshman in the Big East has had as tremendous an impact as Chris Taft.
Now the Villanova shots aren't falling. Page calling for it. Steps in for the 2. And the rebound to Foy. Got a good look there.
See, that's the element of Julius Page's game that he's got to improve on with little time left. Being able to pump fake, get people off their feet, which he did, and then use his athleticism, drive to the goal, create something instead of just pulling up one step and trying to shoot the long jumper. Much too athletic to waste it.
Nearing the final 4 minutes of the first half here in Pittsburgh. Senior day for the Panthers. Boy, off the glass. What a drive.
And that's what we talk about in the isolation situations, one-on-one. You allow Randy Foye and Alan Ray to keep their dribble, they're going to hurt you.
Foye with 4. 7 different Wildcats have scored in this game. It's 19-11 Villanova. Nardi having to work hard on Krauser, who gives it up to Page.
See, here's that Pittsburgh patience right now, recognizing they're back in the ball game. This is how they recover from deficits and build leads. Utilizing patience, playing to their strength.
Krauser again, they double him. Trying to step through, puts the floater up off the glass and good.
That time Krauser split the defense, and then did you see him protect the ball like a fullback on a dive play?
First points of the afternoon for Karl Krauser, the sophomore from the Bronx. Page working hard on Nardi, 35 feet away from the basket, looking for the 5-second call.
Perilously close. Nardi just gave it up.
Boy looking for Sumter. Now drives into the paint. Out of bounds off the fingertips of Sheridan. Will go back over to Pittsburgh. The Panthers have gotten back into this game on some unbelievable plays by freshman Chris Taft, rising above everybody else here today to bring Pittsburgh back within 6.
Yeah, it continued from the Pitt game where they gave up 55 points in that home loss over the week. But now you're fighting back down 8.
Only 23 seconds left, however.
Now, guys, that would be a major win for Boston College as they continue to have a terrific year. We're going to talk more about them in the Big East tournament in just a couple of moments. But we also have a big game to talk about tonight on ESPN tonight at 8 Eastern. A college game night presented by Wachovia Securities will be live from Krzyzewskiville at Cameron Indoor Stadium. And then the best rivalry, college basketball, North Carolina and Duke, and ESPN HD at 9 Eastern tonight with Mike Patrick and Dick Vitale. Of course, Duke winning in overtime in Chapel Hill earlier this season. A breather for Chris Taft, who has led the Panthers back within 6 after they were down 14 a few minutes ago.
And you talk about a dangerous team going forward in the NCAA tournament. North Carolina, 3 guys on that team in McCants, Felton, and May, who lead in statistical categories in the ACC, and they're starting to play up to their potential.
Brown slithering to the baseline, finds Page in the corner. Boy, if Page could knock down some shots, Pittsburgh would be right back in this one. He's had some clean looks.
He's aiming and doesn't have the rotation he normally has on that jumper, but there's some sweet rotation right there by Alan Ray. Talked about confidence. Yep, last 2 games averaging 23 points a game. Hot shooter as well.
He is 7th in the conference in scoring at better than 17 points per game. McCarroll, here comes the double team again. Boy, Villanova very aggressive. Brown makes him pay though with a great feed inside to Troutman.
It was all about diagonal passing that time, catching Villanova out of rotation. Once the double team was made on McCarroll, he gets it to Brown, and watch Brown look diagonally. A wide open Chevy Troutman, as you can see right there under the basket. Excellent execution by Pittsburgh.
Foul on Will Sheridan, his first, and Troutman looking for the 3-point play. If you joined us late, it was 17-3 for Villanova with about 11 minutes left in the half. Good rebound there by Sumter. Well, BC on the verge of a win at Providence, so Providence would be assured of being the number 3 seed in the tournament. Also, we can tell you that Georgetown lost today at home to Virginia Tech. Georgetown is in jeopardy of not being invited to the Big East Championship. The bottom 2 teams don't get to go. St. John's is one of them. If Miami wins at home against West Virginia tomorrow, Miami goes. If Miami loses, then Georgetown goes.
Well, it's nothing like having your destiny in your own hands for Perry Clark and his Miami Hurricanes.
It is so congested in the standings that virtually nothing is certain other than that St. John's is 14th and that they're not going. But again, top spot is still up for grabs. If Pittsburgh could win today, they will clinch the number 1 seed. 1 second on the shot clock for the Wildcats, and Ray does not get it off in time.
And Jamie Dixon wondering why the shot clock didn't start. It took like a full second or two before it started, even though the Villanova player had his hands on it.
Well, this is his building. You should go talk to the scorekeeper.
Well, he didn't talk to him, but he gave him a look that you can translate into an awful lot of words.
Snowden with a foul on Krauser. Coming up at halftime on the Toyota Halftime Report with John Saunders and Digger Phelps. Again, a look into that game between Boston College and Providence. What a big game that would be for the Eagles. What if there was a BCS in college basketball?
Please, no.
And a look also at the best rivalry, that big game tonight, Duke and North Carolina. Another foul called on Villanova. I'm with you, Len. I'm just reading.
It ain't broke.
That's right.
Don't fix it, especially with a BCS type of system.
Snowden with another foul, his second.
The BCS was developed to maximize revenue opportunities. How much more money can you get out of the NCAA men's basketball tournament?
Krauser to the line for Pittsburgh. Free throw shooting was a big problem for Pittsburgh last year, and early this season it has been getting better. Krauser, one of the biggest reasons why. He was 13 of 15 from the line Tuesday at Providence, and Pittsburgh as a team was 28 out of 31, as you can see. Now in conference games they're up to 69%. They were 60% before league play, so they're headed in the right direction.
Well, you talk about deflating quickly. Villanova played with such confidence in the first 7 minutes of this ball game. Just to have Pittsburgh turn up the pressure defensively, find some open people underneath for high percentage shots, get back into their rhythm and play their basketball game, make it a physical basketball game. And now Villanova just a little hesitant.
Lob too high for Sumter. Ball rolling out of bounds. And it will be Villanova ball. No reset on the shot clock because Pittsburgh never had possession. So 6 seconds to shoot for the Wildcats. Boy, on the drive. And a foul is called on Jerron Brown.
Now, last time Brown fouled Foy, we didn't have much of a question on that. Here's one where Foy initiates the contact. And that time it looked a little bit closer, although still, once again, on the wrist. There's another look. Yep, you got him. Forearm to forearm.
Second foul on Brown. 2 shots for Foy. Brown, one of 3 seniors, and this is senior day here at Pittsburgh, along with Julius Page and Torrey Morris. They're going to do their senior day ceremonies after the game today. Going to be an emotional experience for the winningest class in the history of this program. One of 2 for Foy.
It's important right now for Pittsburgh to be able to execute, get this final bucket.
Dangerous pass right there.
You know, continue on that momentum trip that they're running right now, going into the locker room. Also tried again to continue the deflation of this Villanova confidence.
Villanova was up 14, 17-3. Pittsburgh's got it down to 5. They can get a little bit closer if they can knock something down here.
Right now, Villanova going to zone. Again, there's a step out. Little matchup zone to step out, and Krauser gets it blocked.
Great job by Villanova. Good. No, would not have counted even had it gone. The lowest scoring half of the season for the Pittsburgh Panthers, and they had to rally to get to 17 at the break. At halftime, Villanova 22, Pittsburgh 17. The Toyota Halftime Report is coming up. John Saunders and Digger Phelps after this.
ABC's NCAA basketball presented by Cialis, brought to you by the all-new Toyota Tundra Double Cab, not just big, life-size. The TGI Fridays halftime report is next after this.
The low scoring affair leading Pittsburgh by 5. Pittsburgh was down 14 midway through the first half. We mentioned this is senior day for a very talented class of Panthers, but not a whole lot of production to end in the first half. Got to be awfully disappointing for this trio. But the good news is they're only down 5. They're definitely back in the ballgame.
Well, Julius Page and Jerron Brown in particular, they may not be doing it on the offensive end, but certainly they picked up the defense over the last 7 minutes and 57 seconds of the first half. Pittsburgh outscored Villanova 14-5, and a lot of it was because of the excellent D.
At stake for Pittsburgh, clinching the top seed in the Big East going into the Big East tournament. A 2 for Allen Ray, who's the high scorer in this game, now with 9. Pitt won 40 in a row at home, lost last week here to Syracuse, and now in jeopardy of losing 2 in a row on their home court.
Well, that's a great start for Villanova to get Ray the ball in an isolation situation and score to push this lead back to 7.
Deron Brown will inbound it for the Panthers. Again, if you missed the earlier Big East scores, Boston College won at Providence today as Page misses the up and under. Virginia Tech won at Georgetown. So if Miami beats West Virginia tomorrow, the Hoyas miss the Big East tournament along with St. John's. And Connecticut will be at Syracuse tomorrow. If Pittsburgh loses today and UConn wins at Syracuse tomorrow, then Connecticut will be the #1 seed. Sumter on the drive. Frazier looking for the rebound. Loose ball to Page as Frazier goes for a tumble and then grabs, or looked like he grabbed Krauser a little bit, trying to slow him down. Page another miss, and Julius Page is now 0 for 7 today, 0 for 8 today, and 5 for 28 in his last 4 games.
Talked about Pittsburgh loving the man-to-man type of play, the physical type of play. You look at Frazier right there. He's trying to initiate some contact of his own, although it's illegal. You can't kick guys in the open floor.
This young Villanova team playing very well here in Pittsburgh. Nardi, line drive, 3 is off, rebound Taft. If it weren't for Taft, Pittsburgh would be out of this game already.
That was an excellent rebound by Taft, holding his block out, using his good hands to get that long rebound.
Krauser on the drive, again throws up a prayer. Taft is there with the follow.
And again, those terrific hands, holding the block out after getting good offensive rebound position. And the ball looks as though it's a piece of metal going into the magnet in the palm of Taft's hand.
Best offense for Pittsburgh today has been a missed shot. Let Taft go get the offensive rebound. He's got 4 on the offensive glass today and 10 points in the game.
And see, last year, if Pittsburgh had been playing with the same type of ill fortune, they wouldn't have had a guy that size and that quick to be able to go and rescue them.
Ray in traffic. And Will Bush from way up on top of the play comes all the way down and makes the call. Jason Frazier called for the foul.
And Chris Taft, he may be a freshman, but he's been playing like a man today. Again, on the penetrating dish from Krauser. Little offensive one-on-one move by him down low, and again another putback. He's getting excellent position on the offensive glass, really asserting himself, and I'm getting tired of calling him freshman because he's playing like a 5th-year senior right now.
Sumter to the bench now for Villanova, and Sheridan into the game for the Wildcats. Again, Len showed you or talked about his list of Big East freshmen and feels, along with the many others, that Chris Taft should be the easy choice as the Big East Rookie of the Year, something they'll announce Tuesday night in New York. Page steps in, nice find to Krauser, and Villanova comes up with it.
And another easy opportunity missed by Pittsburgh. Can't tell you how many layups they've missed, and a lot of it is they just haven't used their athleticism. They haven't gone to the glass hard.
Pittsburgh ball in the loss to Syracuse last week. Jamie Dixon felt the Panthers did some of their best passing, got some of their best looks of the season, but again they just missed layups, and that's why they only scored 46 points in an overtime game.
I mean, we had a chance to see Julius Page get a step to the basket wide open and miss an open layup instead of using that athleticism and dunking it.
Here's Taft. Left hand, and it goes.
Young fella feeling it today. Again, we talked about his offensive rebounding, but down low, nice little up and under fake, using that left hand despite being held. Another look right there. Gets his man up in the air, out of position, head and shoulders past him. And again, you can't teach that. That's instinct. That's feel.
3rd foul on Frazier, who goes to the bench. Taft has more than half of the Pittsburgh points today. 12 of the 21. Pittsburgh with a rebound on the missed free throw.
And Taft is down low, calling for the ball. Yeah, he's starting to assert himself. Going to make the older guys look for him.
And he's got a big size advantage on Curtis Sumter, too. Page. Troutman for 3.
You sounded surprised, Dan.
Weren't you?
1 of 7 coming into this game. Only a second for the year.
And they've tied it on the most unlikely of plays.
Chevy Troutman, usually underneath, high percentage shooter.
That's also their first 3 of the game as a team.
67% from the field, but he'll take that one.
Let's see how the young Wildcats respond. Nardi on the drive. Somehow snaked a pass through. Pittsburgh comes up with the ball. They can take the lead.
And anytime the ball is loose under either basket, you can bet that Pittsburgh's got a terrific chance of getting possession.
Now we have a stoppage, some debris on the floor down at the other end of the court. And that'll take us to our first media timeout of the second half. Pittsburgh has rallied from a 14-point first-half deficit and a 5-point halftime deficit on just the second three-pointer of the season by Chevy Troutman. We're tied at 24. He is on his way to a double-double, and he is the reason why the Pitt Panthers have rallied to tie this game at 24. Look at the numbers on Taft in his last 2 games. The big win at Providence on Tuesday, and now this game here today. Brown gets it back. Brown still has not scored in this game. That will change right now, and Pittsburgh has its first lead since 2-0.
And pretty unorthodox. Jerron Brown on a running one-hander.
The other senior, Julius Page, has not scored. The third senior, Torrey Morris, who comes off the bench, has 1 point. So a quiet day for the seniors here on their final appearance in this building. Sumter up in the air a little bit too early. Krauser leading the Panthers on the run. Jerron Brown. Tapped by Taft. And coming down with it is Sheridan for Villanova.
One of the few mistakes Chris Taft has made all afternoon, not grabbing possession of that ball and powering up.
Villanova again, if they lose this game, need to win 2 in the Big East tournament to be eligible for the NIT. That Tuesday loss at home to Miami really crippling Villanova's postseason hopes. They are 14-14 and realistically just hoping to get to the NIT. Allen Ray in a hurry, in too much of a hurry as he turns it over. 10th turnover committed by Villanova, and Len, that's been a problem for this team for about 3 or 4 years. They just don't take good care of the basketball.
No, and it's one of those things that you wonder if Jay Wright could ever solve with the guys that are on the floor. You got to find ways to adjust to it. Sometimes you almost have to accept it, and particularly with a 3-guard offense, you don't expect them to turn it over as often as they have. In the last 5 games before coming into this one, they averaged 18 turnovers a game. Opponents only average 12, so you're in a -6 situation.
Now you see why Troutman shoots 67%. Great position and a great find from Jerron Brown. And now it's Jay Wright who needs to take a timeout. Time permitting, coming up after our game today, the Cialis post-game reports. We're just about 5.5 minutes, a little bit more into the second half, and it's all Pittsburgh right now. They are up by 4.
This is game time. My team is all hype. Offense is fast, defense is tight. The other team was nice but has no height. I throw my skates on and we could go all night. Score the game point. I'm the #1 ace. Drop my game face, meet up at our favorite place. I get that quarter pounder with cheeseburger for real. The double fills, a baller up after showing my skills. The beef, the cheese, the pickles, the bun. After that, I think it's time for another run.
McDonald's, I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Back here at the Peterson Event Center, Pittsburgh on an 11-0 run right now. Now with a 4-point lead on the underdog Villanova Wildcats. You see the balloons. You may have seen them up at the rooftop here at the Peterson Center. If Pittsburgh wins today, they clinch the Big East regular season championship. They would win a tiebreaker with Connecticut, and they would be the #1 seed going into the Big East tournament. Providence today already lost at home to Boston College. What a year for Al Skinner's team up in BC. And also Georgetown lost to Virginia Tech. So if Miami beats West Virginia tomorrow, Georgetown will not go to the Big East tournament. So as you can see, so much up for grabs still. Who will finish in what position? We can tell you Providence is going to be the 3 seed. We can tell you St. John's isn't going, and we can tell you those balloons are coming down if Pittsburgh wins this game today.
Yeah, go back to a point that you made a moment about Boston College and Al Skinner. He's been doing it with freshmen and sophomores. It's been absolutely amazing. Had a freshman by the name of Jared Dudley come in and surprise everyone with his contribution.
You can see how tough a year it's been for Jay Wright. The suspensions and injuries early, and now all the close losses. They've lost 14 games, 12 of them by 7 points or less. Their last 4 losses by a total of 11 points, and that includes a game at Syracuse, a game at Seton Hall, a game at home to Connecticut. They've been in every game, but because they're young and because Jay Wright feels they don't have a go-to guy yet, at the end of the game sometimes nobody steps up. Taft, Troutman, and he is fouled. Whereas for Pittsburgh, you know Krauser's going to have the ball in his hands, or he'll find Jerron Brown, or he'll find Chevy Troutman. The Pittsburgh guys have been through these close games before. The Villanova guys still learning.
Well, again, a nice job. Again, here at the rebound by Taft, and he looks up the floor. Troutman is fouled on the shoulder. But going back to Villanova and the go-to guy, it should be evident. Allen Ray has to be that guy, but he also has to want it. And there's been, some indication that he hasn't always stepped up to receive the ball and be the man down the stretch.
We've seen him today look very confident on a number of occasions, but will he play that way if they get into another close end of game situation?
Well, he's tremendously talented. There's no question about it. And I think going to him will give him that necessary confidence to be able to say, I'm the man in the last minute of a ball game.
Chevy Troutman now with 11, 7 of them here in the second half. Villanova got the first bucket of the second half about 10 seconds in, and they haven't scored since. A 13-0 run for Pittsburgh and a 6-minute scoreless drought for the Wildcats. Foy with a drive and a miss, and a foul going against Foy. No basket as they turn it back over to Pittsburgh. No. Frazier picks up the foul, not Foy, and that is number 4 on Jason Frazier as Jay Wright is out on the floor to question Tim Higgins. And now they're going to have to get Frazier out of the game. They can't do it as quickly as they would like, but Chris Charles will come back into the next whistle.
And now you got Chris Taft recognizing that Frazier has 4 fouls. Pittsburgh's got to go to him. Actually, pretty smart foul there by Allen Ray, trying to protect this big man, keep Pittsburgh from going down low.
So Frazier out, Charles in. Charles doesn't play a whole lot. Redshirt sophomore out of Milwaukee, a 7-footer. He has to guard Taft. And now foul against Pittsburgh. Jerron Brown away from the ball. Number 3 on the senior. Villanova now 6.5 minutes since scoring. Ray for 3. Rebound, Troutman. Page gets away from Ray. And then almost throws it out of bounds. Jerron Brown for 3. What an all-round talent Jerron Brown is.
Boy, at the unlikeliest of times, we've seen Siobhan Troutman hit a 3, and Jerron Brown now another 4 3-point shooter, busting it.
The seniors stepping up. Pittsburgh leading by 9. By Jerron Brown, who came into the game just 19% from beyond the arc. Julius Page, after the fact, picked up a technical foul, and Allen Ray will go to the line for Villanova. He knocks down the first. That'll snap the 16-0 run. It would have been and still will be Villanova basketball, and Jamie Dixon pleading his case with the officials about what exactly Page may have done to draw the technical. And Page still questioning it as well. Happened right after the 3-pointer by Jerron Brown as a timeout was called. So it'll be Villanova basketball as they've cut the lead down to 7. Villanova led by as many as 14 in the first half. The crowd now voicing its displeasure with the technical foul call on Julius Page. Here comes Ray off the screen. Len talked about him having to be the go-to guy, having to be the man when Villanova needs to get something done at the offensive end.
Well, here's where Julius Page is at his best defensively. Once Ray gave it up, it's difficult for him to get it back.
Got it back, knocks it down. Allen Ray stepping up. Nova back within 5.
I said difficult, but not impossible.
Well, when you have that kind of athleticism, Allen Ray now with 13 points, averaging 17.6 per game. Krauser, oh, he got lucky there. I mean, he was headed into no man's land, and Allen Ray is called for the block. Well, with the playoffs less than a month away, the NHL games are getting intense right now. Next Saturday, ABC Sports brings you regional action. Some of you will see the Stars taking on the team with the best record in the league, the Red Wings. Others will see the Devils and Flyers, and still others will see the Kings trying to hang on to 8. Out west, taking on the San Jose Sharks. Number 3 on Allen Ray. They've got Frazier on the bench with 4. They can ill afford to have Ray pick up his 4th. Page still struggling today and draws the foul.
And again, Page with the double clutch doesn't really seem comfortable shooting that ball, either a catch and shoot or off the dribble.
He is scoreless here today, Len. Fouls piling up on Villanova, so Pittsburgh will be at the line the rest of the way. They would have been on this one anyway. Shooting foul will send Page to the line. A 70% free throw shooter. Given the numbers you saw, Len, for Pittsburgh's free throw shooting, 65% on the season, better than that in conference play, 69% the last couple of months. How much of a potential problem, if at all, is free throw shooting for Pittsburgh in the tournament?
Well, overall, a lot of teams are having difficulty shooting free throws. I mean, in the Big East, obviously, you know, Notre Dame puts the ball in the basket pretty well. A couple of other teams are shooting around the 70% mark. So in close game situations, you're certainly going to need it. But let's look nationally. You got some of the best teams in America that don't shoot free throws that well.
And a big difference for Pittsburgh. Last year, the ball would be in the hands of Brandon Knight, a wonderfully talented player, but not a good free throw shooter. This year, his replacement, Karl Krauser, who would have the ball in his hands, he could knock him down. And speaking of knocking him down, how about Allen Ray of Villanova single-handedly keeping the Wildcats in the game? Now Villanova steps up the pressure.
Three-quarter court, full-court press. Pressure.
Sumter with a foul. Pittsburgh back to the line. Well, you talked about some of the top teams in America and what they shoot from the free throw line. Not a lot of overwhelmingly positive numbers here. I mean, the best amongst the top 10 is only shooting 72%.
Well, obviously the free throws are an advantage when you can get them. But at the end of the game situations, that's really where you want to measure how well a team shoots in the last couple of minutes. And every one of those teams has somebody who's able to step up and bury the pressurized free throw.
Troutman, a 61% shooter on the season. Looks like he should be better than that. The way we've seen him knock him down here today. Taft will sit down for Pittsburgh. He carried them in the first half.
But he's over there smiling like the day is over, man. I think it's just begun. Villanova certainly has some comeback in them, particularly keeping the ball in Allen Ray's hands.
Troutman to make some both, and we will step aside. More smiling from Taft.
Wake Forest was a 15 seed last year.
Buzzer shot.
And Liberty right now with the lead.
Buzzer shot last year. Wake Forest almost went down.
High Point down by 18. We'll keep you up to date, guys.
John and Digger, thank you. Len and I are looking forward to our role in Championship Week. We're going to be at Madison Square Garden in New York City starting Wednesday night. Now, the New York Times calls it one of the year's top 10 programs. If you haven't seen the practice lately, you haven't seen the practice. ABC tomorrow, 10 and 9 Central. Now, give us a brief overview, Len, of the Big East. We're getting ready for the Big East Championship. Give me a dark horse candidate. Who's your favorite? You want to put yourself out on a ledge at all this afternoon?
I'm always out on a ledge every time I'm working. No, I think obviously the good money, best money would be on a Pittsburgh, Connecticut final, particularly if Pittsburgh can come out here, win this game, get that #1 seed. But a dark horse, a couple of them that could make some noise. Rutgers, I think, has done a terrific job. You know, they're a team that you don't want to play, particularly if they get hot. And again, a Boston College, a young team, a lot of people didn't expect an awful lot of them. They have the capability of winning 4 games in a row because, one, they're too young to know that you're not supposed to.
Len Allen Ray with another 3. He's got 19 points, and he has all 12 of the Villanova points here in the second half.
Well, that's been obviously the strategy for Villanova is to go to their hot hand, the guy putting the ball in the basket.
Pittsburgh known as a team that could shut down just about anybody. Some of the best defenders in the Big East. Antonio Graves misses the 3. Troutman somehow comes up with a rebound and has it swatted away by Charles.
And we talked about Allen Ray and the isolation, using the screen, coming off squared up and dropping the jumper. You know, he's very dangerous if you allow him to free himself on screens or receive the ball in an isolation situation. You need some help.
Interesting. Don't know if they got caught on a switch, but Graves was on him there, the freshman, instead of Page, the senior, who's thought to be the best perimeter defender on this team and maybe in the league.
But you got to give Page a little bit of rest as well. He's been wearing himself out trying to guard Graves throughout the afternoon, and that's why Graves is guarding him right now.
Now they've switched back, and on this trip, Julius Page will try to slow down Allen Ray.
And Randy Foy might be a little too big for Graves on that one.
Steal by Page. Graves looking for help. Page passes up the 3. Graves from 17. Rebound Villanova. They're doing a job on the glass, and they're right back in this game. Snowden, little hesitation. Nice. Underneath to Charles, and it's a 1-point game.
And then turn into the senior, Derek Snowden. Last year hurt his knee. This year he's become a steady floor leader off the bench. Expected to start, but he's given him a great lift off the bench, particularly today. That's what he does. Makes plays.
Well, you said it, Len, that Pittsburgh looked like, we saw a smile from Taft, and you said, hey, it ain't over, big fella. It's just beginning, and Villanova has proven you correct.
Well, they're a team that has a lot of pride, and again, they recognize they've lost a lot of close games.
Shot clock at 4. Offensive foul on Karl Krauser of the Pitt Panthers.
Well, Pittsburgh now out of whack, not really getting the shots that they want. A little bit of push off by Krauser with that left arm. And then here's Derek Snowden on the possession before. Nice penetration and fine.
Changes for both teams, including Allen Ray going to the bench for Villanova. So who's going to be the offensive option right now for the Wildcats? Nardi has returned. He's out there along with Foy in the backcourt. And then a big lineup with Sumter, Sheridan, and Charles up front. Villanova going bigger right now.
Well, again, Villanova also going to take some time off the clock with Ray on the bench. They're going to try to maximize that shot clock to get a good one and to deny Pittsburgh the extra opportunities they might normally have.
Foy leans in. It doesn't drop, but he's fouled. But tomorrow, ABC Sports brings you an NBA Sunday doubleheader. First, one of the battles of Texas. It'll be Dallas and Houston. Dirk Nowitzki and the Mavs trying to bounce back from a loss at San Antonio last night. Then at 3:30 Eastern Time, Jason Kidd, health permitting, will lead the Nets against the LA Lakers, who won last night but lost Kobe Bryant to a shoulder injury.
And what else can happen with the Lakers? Karl Malone, who's been out for a significant amount of time, has been cleared to practice. So you lose Bryant, you might pick up Malone. And Dan, the other reason why Villanova wants to slow this situation down is to allow guys like Randy Foy with Ray on the bench to give him an opportunity to work one-on-one.
Foy just missed a couple of free throws, but a great tap back out by Charles. So a fresh 35 for Villanova. They can reclaim the lead again.
And they're going to use every bit of that. And once again, put the ball in Randy Foy's hand. Who's another excellent one-on-one player.
Got Krauser on him. Here's Nardi defended by Graves. Good show here by Taft. Try to recover to find Sheridan. Sumter's been awfully quiet here today. Nardi's spinning inside, and he is fouled. There is no give up at all in these Villanova Wildcats.
An excellent strategy by Jay Wright, having two guys who can put the ball on the floor and penetrate. Foy couldn't get the ball back because of the denial by Karl Krauser, so Nardi takes over, and all of this is being done with Allen Ray, leading scorer for this game and for the team, on the bench.
Graves the foul, his second. And Villanova has now missed 3 consecutive free throws.
And this is a pretty good free throw shooting team. 74% coming into this game.
Boy is 79%. He just missed 2. Nardi's 84%, and he just missed the first. Tie game at 37.
And there's a three-quarter pressure again.
Jay Wright saying before the game he just wants to mix it up a little, take Pittsburgh out of their rhythm, slow them down a little bit. Once they get their rhythm going with their passing, pounding the ball inside, they can be tough to stop.
Villanova playing man-to-man, disguising it as a zone. A lot of guys taking up space, sagging on Pittsburgh, inviting them to shoot the long one.
They invite Krauser to. He misses it. And Sumter of Villanova gets called for holding Chris Taft.
Well, Pittsburgh has to resist the temptation. Villanova backing off of them, giving them that three-point shot, but they're also vulnerable if you stretch them out a little bit and going back into Chris Taft. It doesn't look like in the half court this season.
I saw him against UConn last week where he had an outstanding game, really going at Charlie Villanueva and Josh Boone, but he's been almost invisible here today.
Well, Sumter's biggest advantage this year has been his ability to play the 4 spot, the power forward spot, get the bigger, stronger guys out on the floor where he can use his quickness. Today he's got Jerron Brown playing him, and Brown at 6'4" with that long arm reach has really made it difficult for Sumter to play anything off the dribble outside.
Brown trying to get away from Allen Ray, finds Krauser. Mark McCarroll open for 3. Rebound Villanova. Cannot say enough about the job that the Wildcats are doing on the glass, holding their own with this Pittsburgh team today.
Again, though, Pittsburgh playing into their hands, looking for the long-range shot instead of dumping it down into Chris Taft and playing a little inside out. Taft hasn't really touched the ball in the half-court sets.
At this end of the floor, keep an eye on Allen Ray, number 14. 12 points this half. Diving to the floor, and it's out of bounds back to Pittsburgh. 13th turnover committed by Villanova, and now a technical foul on Jay Wright.
Well, Jay Livet, he knows that all he was doing was asking the officials for clarity. Out of bounds plays, goes through Snowden's legs, and he really didn't look like the ball went past the white line. And he says the official didn't see it, and the official teased him up.
Now that's one technical aside right now. We had one on Julius Page of Pittsburgh a little bit earlier. Krauser knocks down the first. Well, in this kind of a game, every point is precious. Pittsburgh now leads 40-37.
Tough call. Jay Wright right on top of the play as well as the official. I believe his argument was the official wasn't really looking down at the ball, and his explosion is what warranted the technical.
And Krauser is fouled. It'll be Nardi picking it up for Villanova. And again, Pittsburgh will go back to the line. Now it's 2 shots the rest of the way. Double bonus for the Panthers for the last 6:53 on senior day here in Pittsburgh. And it's been a quiet day, especially for Jerron Brown and Julius Page, who are 2 starters and big-time contributors.
Well, both of those guys are absolutely keys to the Pittsburgh defense, and they've been placing most of their focus on the defensive end. Talked about the job Jerron Brown has done on Curtis Sumter, the second leading scorer for Villanova, and Julius Page has had to deal with Allen Ray all afternoon. So, you know, that's going to take a bit out of your offensive attack.
And a lot of teams are going to win games 92-85. Pittsburgh's going to win them 62-55, so their numbers will not be as big, but that doesn't mean the team results aren't there. 26-3 this season, and a realistic chance at a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament if they can win today and then win the Big East tournament next week in New York. They were a 2 seed last year, got to the Sweet 16, kick ball, and that'll be a fresh 35 for Villanova. In fact, each of the last 2 years, the Panthers have gotten to the Sweet 16, and many feel they're ready to take the next step, maybe get all the way to San Antonio.
Well, last year it was just a question of Marquette being able to score more points. They played in the 70s, kind of game that Pittsburgh usually wins, but they couldn't put enough points on the board.
Ray left alone. A rare miss for him in the second half. Loose ball to Krauser.
Krauser's got to be very careful. That time he turned the ball over, palm underneath. Official didn't call it in order to gain possession.
Boy, in this kind of a game, Len, a 5-point lead feels like a pretty big lead, doesn't it?
It's a big lead, but it's not a safe lead because both of these teams have shown a willingness to fight to get back in the game.
Way back midway through the first half, Pittsburgh was down 14. They scored 3 points in the first 11 minutes of the game. Krauser cannot turn the corner on Charles. Troutman, not again. He already made one earlier today, just his second 3 of the season.
And again, Villanova back to double teaming, particularly across screens, taking the ball out of Karl Krauser's hands. He's the guy that creates for Pittsburgh.
Boy, rattles out. That would have been a huge one for Villanova.
Now it's Pittsburgh again going back to exercising patience now that they have a 5-point lead, forcing Villanova to play defense for the whole time.
Trying to find Taft inside, knocked out of bounds by Charles. 5-point lead for Pittsburgh here at the Peterson Event Center in Pittsburgh. NCAA basketball on ABC Sports, presented by Cialis. Along with Len Elmore, I'm Dan Schulman. A win for Pittsburgh today. They clinched top spot of the Big East going into the tournament. Coming up next, Memphis against Cincinnati in a battle for first place in Conference USA. And I misspoke in the first half. It is Memphis on top of the standings right now at 12-3. And they, John Calipari's team, can wrap up the regular season crown in Conference USA if they can win at Cincinnati today.
And I think the awakening for that Memphis team was when they played this Villanova team in Philadelphia back in early January. 16-point win. John Calipari really believed that his young team had started to turn the corner, and that's when they got into conference play. And the rest is the history we spoke of right now.
Taft now with 14 as he makes 1 of 2. Pittsburgh's lead is 6. A double-double today for Taft. One more time, can the young Wildcats respond to adversity here in Pittsburgh? A turnover, Troutman off to the races, and the strength to lay it in. We'd like to welcome those of you who watched Texas Tech defeat Iowa State. We're here at the Peterson Event Center in Pittsburgh, where the Pitt Panthers, who trailed 17-3 midway through the first half, have rallied to take an 8-point lead on Senior Day. And a win today for the Pitt Panthers. They will wrap up the regular season crown in the Big East. They win the tiebreaker with the UConn, and they would be the #1 seed going into the Big East Championship beginning Wednesday in New York City.
Well, this has been a game where Villanova came out very aggressive on defense, really rocked Pittsburgh, got them on their heels, had a 17-3 lead at one point in this basketball game. But the Panthers battled back. They did it with defense, they did it in transition, and they did it with physical play on the boards. And here, the problem that Villanova suffered all year, critical turnovers, bites them again as Siobhan Troutman converts.
Troutman now with 15 points of the game, 11 of them coming in the second half. And we have had a 22-point turnaround in this game. When Pitt was down 14, that represented their largest deficit of the entire season. An outstanding Panther program. Pitt is 26-3 this year. The 3 losses by a combined total of 7 points.
Boy, I like the way Krauser really shadowed Nardi. You can see now a stepped up defense, a newfound aggression by Pittsburgh on their D. Look at them stepping out now, really extending. They know how to deliver the knockout punch, and they're trying to do it right now.
Shot clock under 10. Ray driving. Frazier up big for the rebound. Fresh 35 for the Cats. Ball on the floor. And the arrow will turn it back over to Pittsburgh. Missed opportunity. Another one for Villanova.
Another turnover. And again, in close game situations, you mentioned it earlier and several times, Villanova really has been susceptible to giving the ball up when they're in the game.
15th turnover committed by the turnover-prone Wildcats, who cough it up about 17 times per game. Look at how Pittsburgh's taking care of the basketball. So much experience on this Pittsburgh team. A couple of seniors on the floor, and Jerron Brown and Julius Page. Krauser, a 22-year-old redshirt sophomore, Chevy Troutman, and then number 23, Chris Taft. He's a freshman, but he's the best freshman in the Big East. Here he is inside.
And he's been the guy that brought Pittsburgh back and helped them get this lead.
We're under 4 minutes to play as we step aside. Pittsburgh 3:57 away from locking up the Big East regular season.
Cialis. Ask your doctor if a free sample of Cialis is right for you. Volvo for life. And 7-Up in your local 7-Up bottler. Make 7-Up yours.
Well, thousands of balloons ready to go here at the Peterson Event Center. If Pittsburgh can take this lead the rest of the way, if they win, they clinch the top spot of the Big East in the regular season and the #1 seed going into the Big East tournament. Not bad when you consider they lost 3 starters and a head coach from last year. But Jamie Dixon and Barry Rorson and the whole staff at Pittsburgh, and Krauser stepping in as a starter, and Taft, the freshman, this is still one of the best teams in America.
Well, they certainly are. And this is the type of team, people ask how good are they? Well, they're as good as they need to be. And this is not a masterpiece, not shooting the ball well, suffering from some defensive lapses. But when they need a big play, when they need somebody to step up, Pittsburgh usually finds it. They've been able to create turnovers. They've also been able to go to Chris Taft at a needy time, and he's been able to deliver as a freshman.
An 8-point lead for Pittsburgh. They were down 14 midway through the first half. They were down 5 at the break. This is Taft. That is a Zavarian high. Lays it in with the left hand, and he'll go to the line. Almost unstoppable down in the post.
Well, his nickname is the Big Ticket. And if you're going to go dancing and for a long time, he needs to get this ticket punched. And right there, again, using his left hand, we've seen that time throughout. His ability to use both hands. And also that youthful enthusiasm. Didn't show it here. Now it's just a matter of fact. He's gotten the job done throughout the day. It's just another day at the office for him.
How excited is he going to be coming from Brooklyn to go back to New York, as likely it appears now the #1 seed in the Big East tournament. He's a freshman, so he wasn't there when Pittsburgh won the Big East championship last year, beating Connecticut in the final.
Well, I can tell you from experience, playing at Madison Square Garden, being your hometown, is an absolute thrill. And when you play in a championship type of setting, it just pumps you up. But I bet you Chris Taft's not going to be allowed to go back to Brooklyn until after the tournament.
Mark McCarroll's from Queens. Karl Krauser's from the Bronx. So a whole bunch of Panthers going to be excited next week in New York.
You know, Pittsburgh, you mentioned a lot of the New York guys. Absolute terrific New York connection. Barry Rorson, assistant coach under Jamie Dixon, is the key to that.
Has great contacts in New York City, and Pittsburgh's become a dominant recruiting force in New York City. Barry Rorson's contacts there, and also, and they'd be the first ones to tell you, this beautiful new facility they have in its second year. That doesn't hurt when kids are thinking about coming to Pittsburgh either.
That's right, and you contrast that again with St. John's. There's Barry Rorson right there. He's been a tremendous recruiter as well as kind of a caretaker for these young men who trust in him. But, you know, you contrast St. John's without that on-campus facility, you know, not having the resources or not willing to expend the resources to build facilities like this. That's why they lose in part, or they lose a lot of the New York players to guys like Barry Rorson and universities like Pittsburgh.
2.5 to go. Getting ready for a celebration here in Pittsburgh on Senior Day, and on the verge of clinching another Big East regular season title. Using as much clock as they can. Taft, nice dump down. And Jerron Brown is fouled. An underrated aspect of this Pittsburgh team is how well the big men, Troutman and Taft, can pass the ball. Let's take a look at our Cialis key moment of the game. It was this turnover that Jay Wright disagreed with. Didn't think the ball went out of bounds. Gave the ball back to Pittsburgh, and then Jay Wright got teed up for arguing. Villanova has not scored since. A 12-0 run for Pittsburgh since the technical.
And boy, what a disappointment again after a tremendous start of this basketball game where Villanova essentially dominated Pittsburgh on both ends of the floor. Their execution, their aggressive defense took the ball out of Krauser's hands, created a lot of mistakes on Pittsburgh's part, and then suddenly to kind of have it all go almost immediately. You know, Pittsburgh battled back in the first half, asserted themselves on the board, made this more of a physical game, but it was still a game.
Villanova will go to the Big East tournament, but they will need to win at least 2 games. They'll need to win 2 games to assure themselves of a 500 record, an NIT consideration. Pittsburgh, of course, with much loftier goals. As the players themselves say, having accomplished what we have the last couple of years, anything less than a trip to the Final Four would be a disappointment. Charles follows his own miss. Now Sheridan runs it down to the corner. And the 3 is there for Ray. Timeout, Jay Wright and the Wildcats. A minute 36 standing between Pittsburgh and another championship. With a win, last game of the seniors in this building, and Julius Page among them, and lock up the top seed in the Big East tournament.
Well, I fully expect Villanova right now to try for a steal and then look to foul.
Troutman, and they do get a steal. Troutman did not see Snowden behind him, and Villanova fortunate to retain possession. Ray spinning into the paint. No. Follow. No. And Charles, I believe. Yep, Chris Charles going to get called for going over the back. Don't forget, tomorrow ABC Sports brings you an NBA Sunday doubleheader. First game, Dirk Nowitzki in Dallas taking on Yao Ming and the Houston Rockets. And then in game 2, Jason Kidd day-to-day with his injury, hoping to lead the Nets against the LA Lakers. Kobe Bryant day-to-day with his shoulder injury suffered last night. There's your senior leadership right there. Jerron Brown, Julius Page, what careers they have had, and they have helped bring this program to an almost unprecedented level in the history of Pittsburgh basketball.
And you know, we remarked about the fact that neither one of them have been scoring at the expected clip over the last several games, and you saw them bent over kind of grabbing their shorts a little bit. I think that this season's taken a bit of a toll, that those guys are tired now, and you know, it's showing in their play, especially the defensive focus they have to exhibit game after game, because they're always playing the toughest guy either on the front line or in the backcourt.
Well, they better get ready to potentially play 3 games in 3 days in New York City. They'll, of course, get the bye. Top 4 teams in the regular season standings get the bye. Pittsburgh will win and be the #1 seed with a win today. What a year for first-year head coach Jamie Dixon, formerly an assistant here at Pittsburgh under Ben Howland. Pittsburgh went after Skip Krauser. But then one of the reasons that they decided to hire Jamie Dixon, in addition, I'm sure, to his credentials and a great interview and so on and so forth, but some of the players, Karl Krauser, Jerron Brown among them, petitioned the chancellor to hire Jamie Dixon, saying, we've had such a good thing going here. He understands the system. We like him. We want Jamie Dixon to be the head coach.
But more importantly, Karl Krauser actually saw the chancellor on the street and walked across the street to plead his case. So you talk about an assertive young man who understands what this game is all about, how important continuity is. Karl Krauser is that man.
And Jamie Dixon would figure to be a candidate, obviously, for Big East Coach of the Year, and maybe, Len, for National Coach of the Year. What do you think?
Well, you look at him, he's the rookie among a bunch of veterans right there, but every one of those guys is deserving. I mean, Jamie Dixon, we talked about, you know, being a rookie coach, a new bunch of guys playing after losing 3 starters. He's integrated them well. What can you say about Phil Martelli and Mike Montgomery? Montgomery on the verge of a perfect season. Martelli has one. And then Rick Stansbury and Eddie Sutton have just done things with teams that people really didn't expect. So you can't go wrong with any one of those 5.
Another foul committed by Villanova. Derek Snowden down on the floor, and Snowden may be shaken up. Coming up next, second game of our ABC Sports NCAA doubleheader. Big one out of Conference USA. The Memphis Tigers trying to lock up top spot in that league with a win at Cincinnati. You know, the Bearcats will be in a bad mood after losing midweek to DePaul. DePaul's had a great year, too. Dave Lato, former assistant to Jim Calhoun at UConn, has them 11-4 in the league, 18 wins overall. And you got to start to like their chances for an NCAA berth.
Well, you certainly do. I mean, they've had some big wins. And the fact that Dave has been able to move his team in that top 5 in Conference USA, which is surprisingly strong this year, and made stronger by the fact that Charlotte, UAB, 2 teams a lot of people didn't expect to be competitive, are in there battling and have terrific records and have big wins of their own.
The team you don't see in that top 5 is Louisville. They're actually 6th in the Conference USA standings, but obviously will go to the NCAA tournament. They actually have the best RPI for what it's worth of any of the teams in Conference USA. And I know you and I feel about the same about the RPI, that it's just one of many things that should be discussed when evaluating a team's resume.
Right, and that feeling was confirmed by tournament selection chairman Bob Bowlesby, AD at Iowa, who said he called it a blunt instrument, which means that it's not a precision instrument. And the bottom line is that America needs to wake up and understand that the RPI is a tool, but it's not definitive.
Jamie Dixon doesn't have to worry about all that stuff with what will now be a 27-3 record, and he's calling down to Torrey Morris. I think he's asking Torrey Morris if he wants to go back into the game. Torrey Morris is a senior, played a few minutes in the first half, has not played in the second half, and I think Torrey Morris has said that he's not going to go back into the game. Jamie Dixon is now going to send Yuri Dimitris back in. I think Torrey Morris waved him off, Len.
He probably did, and you know, some guys have some pride. Remember, Torrey Morris was a starter for a significant part of his career. As you see Jerron Brown going off to a standing ovation.
And now Julius Page, the other senior, will go out to a huge ovation as well. What a class. 103 and 28, the winningest 4 years in Pittsburgh basketball history.
Now, if I'm Torrey Morris, so I would have at least wanted to be acknowledged with this standing ovation, although there will be a ceremony afterwards. But, you know, guys have pride. He's been around, and he doesn't want to be that, you know, the mascot, so to speak, of this crowd who chants his name to go in.
Jamie Dixon tried. Torrey Morris will sit out the last few seconds. Coming up next, many of you will see Memphis and Cincinnati. Others will see BYU and UNLV in the second game of the ABC Sports doubleheader. Now more changes as Jamie Dixon brings out Chevy Troutman and Chris Taft. And these 2 big guys were monsters inside for Pittsburgh today.
Well, particularly Chris Taft. He is the reason why Pittsburgh was able to come back and then vault out to this lead. Without Chris Taft playing the way he played today, I think Pittsburgh right now would be in serious trouble.
Very talented, poised, and experienced team getting ready for the Big East Championship in New York City. They'll go in as the 1 seed, and they hope for another deep run into the NCAAs. Sweet 16 each of the last 2 years. Now Jamie Dixon applauding as Karl Krauser comes out, so he gets all of his starters a nice ovation.
Last game of the season here. You get the seniors their last look, get the fans their last look at home at some of their favorite players, but more importantly, a last look at a team, as you mentioned, both of us mentioned, that can vie for the Final Four.
Antonio Graves, Aaron Gray, big 7-footer. And the layup is good for Ed Turner, freshman out of Buffalo. Some of the bench guys getting onto the score sheet here today. A good effort by Villanova for most of the afternoon, but Pittsburgh just wore them down. Turned a 14-point deficit into a 17-point win. 2.4 to play. And Pittsburgh will be the #1 seed in the Big East tournament as they try to defend their Big East championship, beating UConn last year. And a whole bunch of these guys from the Oakland Zoo behind us, Len. They're going to be sitting right there in New York City, cheering on their Panthers. Out of bounds, ball back to Villanova.
They're cheering them now, calling them Big East champs.
A 22-5 run for the Panthers over the last several minutes to really make the score a little bit more misleading. The game was closer than this. Nardi to inbound it. And the basket will count at the buzzer. So the final score will be 59-45. The Pitt Panthers Big East regular